welcome to the stage, Mr. Raymond Cruz.
Hello, Lithuania.
So we're here. We're discussing life beyond the silver screen. Your life, the roles that you've played, things that you advocate for. That's just a bit of background. Tell us about you first.
Okay, well, I grew up in East Los Angeles, California. I was born and raised. I grew up in a really bad neighborhood that was surrounded by gangs, and that was mostly my family. My cousins, my uncles, they were all like hardcore gangbangers. Also my brother, and it's a lifestyle. You know, you grow up and it's kind of like all you know. And the difference was that I really enjoyed reading growing up, so I was way ahead. Teachers would send me out of class just to go to the library to read, because I was a really good student. I got kicked out of school, 2 high schools, for writing editorials. I always tell people, I got kicked out of high school, and they're like, for fighting? I go, no, for writing.
Well, can we just start? What were you editorializing? What were you advocating for?
Good question. So our neighborhood was primarily Latin culture. So our high school, there was a lot of Latin students, a lot of illegal immigrants that went to our school. And our principal had a policy, if you were late to class, you had to pick up trash. So I was late on purpose, and then I refused to pick up trash. So I had to go see the principal, and we had a really nice conversation where I told him that I didn't attend school to learn about janitorial skills, that I came here to get an actual education. So we had a couple of arguments. He threatened to kick me out. I said, kick me out. I wrote a whole editorial about it, how that, you know, the educational system at this time wasn't preparing us for life beyond high school, to go to college for advanced education, but trying to prepare us for a future as janitors and janitors and gardeners. That they didn't really care about what we learned. So, and then, so I got kicked out of there. I went to another high school. I wrote an editorial there. I got kicked out. That's pretty good, huh?
And what was that editorial about?
So I go to this high school. I write an editorial about sports. So there's no way you could anger anybody. So I wrote about how I did a first-person account of a person at a football game, how the hot dogs were warm, the Coke was warm, the hot dogs were cold, the cheerleaders were overweight, couldn't dance, and the football team sucked. And I had everybody yelling at me. The coach, the cheerleading coach, the hot dog guy was yelling at me. Everybody's like, you have to apologize. I'm like, this is a first-hand account. I wrote it. So they kicked me out of the school because I refused to apologize. So I went to another high school, and the principal met me. She said, we heard about you. I said, can I be on the newspaper? She's like, nah. So, but then, okay, then this is the topper. So I was a big track star in high school. I used to pole vault and high jump and run. I was very athletic. So my coach gets me back into the first high school. He said, you can come back, but you can't be on journalism. You can't write anything. You can't say anything. And I said, okay. So I go back. I win like the whole championship for our school, and then I write an editorial about how they wouldn't let me back in because I was an academic, but because I was an athlete, it was okay. And I gave it to my friend who was on the newspaper, and they printed it. Principal was yelling at me. He said, I told you, he goes, you've got a real problem. I go, no, you have a problem. And he said, I'm going to get rid of you. I said, I'm graduating. And then they had a contest where you had to submit a speech at graduation in order to give the keynote address. And the keynote address is a speech to all the graduates about your future. So you submitted anonymously. Guess who won? Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So I gave the speech. The principal would not hand me my diploma. He would not hand it to me. And when I went to high school, I worked 3 jobs and went to high school. I would show up, my eyes would be red I'd be tired from working. And I got kicked out twice because they said I was on drugs. They said I was high. I was just tired. I was happy to get kicked out because I was tired. I'd go home, take a nap. But I was a really good student, and then I got a scholarship for writing. I went to college, I studied writing, and that's how I got into theater, which led to acting. Because I was always really curious about the mechanics behind the performances that actors would lay down on film and in theater, how they did it. Like, how do they do that? How do they take the written word and translate it to performance? Like, I could hand you a page of just lines, and I say, do this. But you might just read it, where somebody else, it would be like a whole different thing. So I was really fascinated by the work behind it. So I trained for like 10 years. I did a lot of theater, and I love theater. You just can't make very much money at it. But that's not why you do it. You do it for the love of acting, and because the challenge. Because you never know what you can do until you challenge yourself, okay? I grew up boxing. I grew up in rough neighborhoods. I grew up boxing. Like, when you see me do stunts on films, like the fights in Breaking Bad, that was me. I was actually doing it, and we choreographed it because I wanted it to look real. But when you grow, it's the same thing with boxing. Like, you never know what you're gonna do until you get hit. So when you get hit, then that's the real test. And it's the same thing with acting. You never know what you're gonna do until you're standing around and there's 200 people looking at you, just like you're looking at me now, and they're going, what is he gonna do? And they all have high expectations, and so you need to deliver.
Wow. God, I hope I can live up to that. I mean,
there you go.
All right. So, is it fair to say then that that you still support the idea of education? That we're supposed to be talking about advocacy. Do you support education initiatives and things?
Everyone should support education. If you have children, I mean, if you want to learn something, it will change your life. I mean, if I hadn't studied writing, if I hadn't studied literature, if I hadn't studied theater, my life would be completely different. I mean, this is what propelled me into becoming an actor. And honestly, I never thought that I would be on television. I never thought that I would be in a movie. And I read the book Clear and Present Danger by Tom Clancy. This is a good story. I read the book, I loved it. I was like, oh my God, have any of you read Clear and Present Danger? No one? Great book. It's about an SF, Special Forces soldier in the United States who becomes a sniper, and then they go in and do these special ops in South America. So I read the book. There's the main character's name is Ding Chavez. He's Latino, SF, sniper, heroic character. So I love this book. Years later, I find out they're making a movie about it. And I tell my agent's over, where are you, Raf? My agent's right there. And I tell my agent, get me an audition for this movie. And he goes, okay, I keep trying to get you an audition. They keep saying no. No. They go, he's a great actor. I saw him in Blood In, Blood Out. They go, but this character's like larger than life, SF soldier. And, we just don't think he's right. And I kept telling my agent, get me an audition, get me an audition. And I knew a lot of people, like when you're acting, you see a lot of the same people go and read for the same parts when you go to auditions. So I knew a lot of people that were going in, and we could not get an audition. For some reason, the casting director did not want me to come in. So my agent said, okay, screw her, calls the producers and say, my actor wants to audition, casting director won't let him, will you please see him? And he said, yes, send him in. And when you do this, you're going over the casting director's head. And she's a really famous casting director. She passed away now. Her name was Molly Finn. But she got really mad. So I walk in. I see other actors there. And I say, and then she looks at me. She doesn't say anything. She comes up and she says, are you ready? And she's really angry. And I say, yes, ma'am. So I do the audition. She goes, oh, my God. She runs, grabs a camera, comes back. She says, do that again. So I do it again. And then she goes, wow. So next day I get a call. They say, we want you to come to meet the director, Philip Noyce. So I go in. It's me and Benjamin Bratt. And Benjamin Bratt's a really good actor. We go in and we're reading for the lead role of Chavez. We go to Paramount Studios, go to the director's office, and Philip Noyce doesn't even look at you. He's eating sunflower seeds, and he's just looking down. He goes, so I start the scene. I read the scene, and he goes, I read the next scene. Never looks at me. Then he goes like this, stop. goes, part's yours. See, what do you think about that? From getting no, from saying she doesn't want you to come in, to actually going in, and then the other actor hadn't even read yet, and then she gave me the part, that director gave me the part. Perseverance, right? So, and the thing the point about that is education. Like, I'm so prepared that I got my opportunity. So when I got my opportunity, I was so ready to go. I don't get nervous when I audition. I don't get nervous when I work because I'm always so prepared. Like when I did Tuco, when I did the work for Tuco.
In the show that we can't name.
Right, in the show that we can't say. But when I did the work for that character, I did so much. I did hundreds of hours of work before I ever showed up and said one line. And I never said a word out loud until the camera was in front of me and they said action. And Vince Gilligan, I saw him when I went to Albuquerque to go shoot. Vince said, "Do you know what you're gonna do?" And I said, "No." And I wasn't lying. I mean, I knew what I was gonna do, but I had no idea until it came out. But I did all my work, all my prep, and I stood in front of 200 members of the crew, and they're all standing around, and I said, "Listen, I can do this in one take," which is crazy, to do a scene like in one take. I said, "I need everybody to be on point, camera, sound. I need everybody to be quiet." I go, "I can knock this out." And they're looking at me like you are now, like, this guy's insane. And they go, we got to see this. And so we shoot it, action, first take, cut, whole crew erupts in applause. And one guy goes, "You're insane." So that's how we did it. So they could not believe that I could just show up, no rehearsal, which is crazy. You could ask this guy to show up, just block, give me my marks, here, okay, I'm looking at him, okay, let's go, and shoot it. So, but again, education, preparation, understanding your craft and being able to deliver it, and having the confidence to do it. But I'd done so much theater, there was this, when they were casting it, they said, "We can't find anybody who can do this part." And they had a lot of people auditioning. And the casting director, Rick Pagano, who's a big casting director in Hollywood, we did a lot of theater together. And he said, "I know who can do it." So Rick calls me, he says, "Read this script." It was called Breaking Bad. I read it, I go, "Wow, writing's good." He goes, "Can you do it?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Will you do it?" I said, "No." I couldn't do it. I was working every day on a show, so I was not available. So Vince Gilligan had the great idea. He goes, "Will you shoot it on the weekend?" So that means I'm working 5 days on the show. Then I'm working 2 days on the weekend, all day, shooting a different character in a different location. Because I was shooting the show, the police drama I was on in Los Angeles. And then the other show was shot in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I said, "Oh, great." Because, it's difficult to do one part when you're working every day. Because you work like 12, 14 hours a day shooting. And then to go do two is crazy. And then two, that's why, and that character, Tuca, was pitched at such a high level. And I knew what I wanted to do with it. And the only reason I did it was the challenge. Because I looked at it and I told Rick, I told Vince, I said, "I'm going to do something that you've never seen before on television." I said, "I'm going to do something that's going to blow your mind." And again, they're like, "Okay." They're like, "What is he talking about?" And then when they saw it, when Vince saw it, he was walking around the set going, "Holy shit, holy shit." So that was that experience.
So would you say that if you had a motto, would it be luck favors the well-prepared?
I would say you can get lucky if you're prepared. If you're given the opportunity, again, it's this thing where opportunity meets preparation. I'm probably the best example of that, because I had an acting teacher. This guy was a really great teacher, because I went into his class. It was all white people, and one black guy, and he looks at me, and we do scenes, we do cold readings, we do comedy, we do drama, and he was a good mentor. He would talk to you along the way. He said, "You are never going to work." He said, "You will not have a career unless you're better than everybody else." He goes, you can't be good. You can't be as good. He said, you have to be the best. You have to be better than everybody else. And I said, okay, I'm going to be better than everybody else. And I worked my ass off. He gave me the training I needed, the tools I needed. He goes, I can teach you. I can give you what you need, but you have to work. And he was right. He said, you have to challenge yourself every step, every part you get. You can't just go in there and say, okay, I'm going to do the part. You have to look at it. What can you do with it? This is what I did with Breaking Bad. I looked, I go, what can I do with this? And then that's when I figured out, I said, okay, I'm going to try to elevate this to a level that no one's ever seen before. So, and that's it, you know, and you have to, and that's taking a big chance. I mean, you could easily go in there and do it. Oh, should I tell this story? Let me see.
Do we want him to tell the story?
We shoot the first episode of BB, and it goes great. We go to shoot the second episode. They have a different director every episode, okay? He's an older man, been around. He goes, we're doing the junkyard scene where I beat the guy to death, right? Because he talks and I tell him not to talk. So he goes, can we rehearse the scene? And I said, no. I go, I can't do it. I go, it's too much energy. If I try to rehearse, I won't have anything left for shooting. He goes, what are you going to do? And I go, well, let's just block. Again, give me my mark. I'm here. I turn here. I come up to here to Caesar. We go face to face. Camera's here. Okay. So that's it. And he goes, you're not going to rehearse. And I said, no, I don't need to. I'm good. He goes, okay. So we do a master, which is a really wide shot. So we do the take, finish. He goes, cut. He comes running up to me. He goes, listen, it's too much. He goes, what you're doing is insane. He goes, I can't use that. He goes, you got to bring it way down. I mean, bring it way down. He goes, I don't know what you're doing. It looks crazy. And I go, excuse me? And I looked at him, and I knew right away. I looked at him, and I go, do you know anything about meth? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I read the script. I go, explain it to me. How does meth affect you emotionally, mentally, physically? What does it do to you psychologically? And he goes, well, I didn't do that kind of research. I go, I know. And I go, and this is a strain of meth that doesn't exist. This is super meth, hyper meth. It's a superhero meth. I go, so why don't you go over there, set up your shot, and don't you fucking talk to me again. Don't you say one more fucking word. And he just started shaking. And he just like, oh, you don't talk that way to a director, right? So he just goes, he walks away. This little man comes over, his assistant, and goes, Mr. Cruz, the director would like, well, tell the director to go fuck himself. Okay? Tell him to go fuck himself. Don't care. And then we shoot the scene, and the guy doesn't talk to me at all. I do exactly what I'm planning on doing. So we shoot the scene. You all seen the scene, right? Okay. So we shoot the scene. Vince shows up. He watches it. He goes, holy shit, it's amazing. He goes, oh my God, this is so great. Now, the lesson here was this director hadn't done his homework, and he didn't understand what he was doing, but he was trying to screw up what I was going to do. And I didn't allow that. I stopped him. I shut him down, like really quick, because I didn't care. Because when I took the part originally, I told him three things. I said, okay, we shoot on the weekend, and then you have to pay me, and you can't change anything I do. There was a long pause on the phone, and then Vince said, okay. And then I was like, oh shit, now I got to do it. You said now you got to deliver, so then I had to do the work. But that's just a good lesson. You know, I knew so well what I was doing. You could not convince me otherwise. And this man who's supposed to be in charge, he's the one who's like directing the show. You know, he didn't know what he was doing, and I read him right away. And, you know, because of my conviction, because of my preparation, because of my work, you know, I didn't say, oh, okay, sir, let me bring it way down. You know, let me do what you want. But most actors probably would. But I was like, yeah, fuck you. So.
So several times now you've mentioned literature, you've mentioned reading.
Yes.
I know we've had conversations where we talk about reading at a young age. And then we've also talked about now preparation. Do you find inspiration in literary characters when you're going for something like Tuco? Do you look back at some of the books that you've read? Is there any type of literary inspiration that you can pull from?
Are there any actors in here? Anybody studying acting, theater, anything? This guy right here? Awesome. Walter White, bro. Walter White. So, you know, everything in your life at some point will give you inspiration. I loved reading. I loved reading as a little kid. So what it does is it nurtures your imagination. I read Moby Dick at 10, read it again because I really wanted to understand it. I made a list of all the great American literature books that were ever made, and I started reading them. And I got fascinated by it. Like, I love Steinbeck, I love Grapes of Wrath, but that's a Mexican story. It's about these white immigrants that come from the Midwest to pick fruit, and during the Great Depression, and they suffer all these losses. And, you know, I read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And I love The Jungle. And it's about this immigrant family who struggles, and they work in the meatpacking industry. But you find inspiration in music, in life, a lot of stuff. Like, I did this movie called Blood In, Blood Out, this fantastic film by Taylor Hackford about the Mexican mafia. And the character that I play in the film, a lot of people, they relate to it. But that character is based on the inspiration of my uncles. So I pay homage to them. And I always have gang members come up to me and they go, I thought you were a gang member. And like my brother's a gang member. He loves the life. He grew up in it. He romanticized it. He's really hardcore. He's been in 8 different prisons. And I always ask my brother, I go, how many people have you killed? He goes, I don't know. He goes, but never killed anyone that didn't need to die. That was a big inspiration for me. Believe it or not, yeah, because you get the truth from somebody, you know? So you get, wherever you look, especially as an actor, you're always taking everything in. I meet people, I watch the way they talk. I notice everything about somebody when I meet them. I notice the way they look, how much they weigh, their eye color, the way they move, the way they talk, the way they breathe, the way they sound, you know? I always notice everything. So, and it's just natural to me. So
then, like, when you're building a character, will you do things like, okay, so what was Tuco's favorite music, or what's his favorite food? Will you?
Right. Oh yeah. When you're building a character, you if you want to do a complete job, it takes hundreds of hours to work on a part before you ever shoot, before you say one line, before you get in front of the camera. By the time you get in front of the camera, it's the end. By the time you shoot, you want to do it because you've been living with all this information in your head, with all this like feeling in you that you generate for this character. So by the time you shoot, you want to. I can't wait. I always can't wait to shoot when I get a part, and I can't wait to finish. So, like, I played Ariel Castro in a movie. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Ariel Castro was a really bad man who kidnapped 3 girls, held them for 11 years hostage, impregnated one, had a child, and then the girls escaped. It was a really dark story, and I got offered the part, and I didn't, I was on the fence about doing it, and my girlfriend said, if you don't play this part, no one will feel for the victims, because it has to be played right. So I had to find a way to realize the character so that you had empathy for the girls in the story, because it was a survival story for these women. So I had to find that and build the character and do it. And for me, it sounds sick, but I looked at it as a love story. Yeah, so it was a love story I had to look at it that way. It was a love story, but it made it work. So, and in that movie, I just finished production on the TV show where I played a detective. We wrapped. I had 2 weeks before I started shooting the movie. I gained 40 pounds in 2 weeks. I went from 185, which I am now, to 225 pounds, like just fat. Because the character he was a fat, disgusting, human being. But I didn't look at him that way. I just looked at, you can't make judgments like that on characters. Like, I look at Tuco as a hero. I look at the other guys as the bad guys, right? Am I right?
Yeah. It's all about perspective.
It's all perspective. He's a hero of his own journey, Absolutely.
We've got about 20 minutes left. We can keep talking, but does anybody here have any questions? We've got a microphone set up here in the middle. If anybody has any questions, you can step up to the mic. If not, we'll just keep talking. That's okay.
Come on, Walter White must have a question. Come on, Walter. Yeah.
Got to get a picture afterwards, I think.
Okay, so you said a good speech today and yesterday, but I think you forgot to mention one major thing. Say my name.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah. That's a real fan. Does anyone else have a question? Anyone? Don't be shy. Oh, she has a question. I'm a Virgo.
Hi.
Hi.
It was very nice to listen to you. I'm actually watching Breaking Bad again now.
Yes.
So it's really nice to see you as well. I wanted to ask, in Breaking Bad, was there some scenes that you like improvised that was put in, like it was off the script that you didn't have to do, that you included?
Well, I'll tell you, when you have really good writing, there's not really room for improvisation, because you got to understand, when you're shooting something, a writer writes something very specific. They trust you with the words to tell their story, so they're very picky. But it was only written as tight, and I said tight, 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 and they loved it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to do that.
That was it. And then you know this, the thing I did with the cigarette where I put it out on my tongue? That's not in the script. I just improvised that.
Damn.
Yeah.
That was fake, right?
Yeah. That was awesome.
No worries. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Someone else?
Okay.
So the whole story of you being a big literature fan really resonated with me, because I started reading really young as well, and I still enjoy doing that. My question is there, at the moment that we speak, a literature character that you would still love to play? Even though that somebody did a really good role at it, would you like to do to give it a second try and do it better?
Wow, you know, that's an interesting question. I think the only one that I really wanted to do was the one I did, was Chavez in Tom Clancy's book, because it was so well written, and I just like really connected with the character. I like reading all kinds of stuff. Like right now I'm reading Marilyn Monroe's autobiography. It's actually really good. I was like, do I want to read this? But it gets into her whole history, her growing up and what she went through. So I'm reading that. And I just finished a book on the whole political and geographical reaches of the MS-13 gang. And that was a well-written book, and it's beautiful, because it talks about how the genesis of the gang, and how it started in Los Angeles and then spread to El Salvador and Mexico, because they kept getting deported, and they would start cliques, different factions back in their country, and that's how the gang spread and became one of the biggest, like most vicious gangs. Me and my brother are always talking about gangs, so it's just like I guess it's just this thing that's interesting to me, you know. But yeah, I guess just whatever comes up, if it's something good, I'd be interested. I'm always pick a part based on the writing. It has to be good writing. If it's not good writing, but I did a horror film called La Llorona. I don't know if any of you've seen it. Oh, he's seen it. Okay, so I did that because of the legend, because I grew up with it. So I knew, and it was a folktale. There's stories written about it, and people pass it down from generation to generation. And this supernatural stuff, you have to understand, it's real, okay? It's not made up. This stuff is actually real. So you have to respect it. And in the preparation for it, I had to protect myself, my spirit, my soul. So there's all these different things that you can use to protect you against evil spirits attaching themselves to you. Because, if you call on them, they'll come. So you gotta be really careful with that stuff. And we saged a lot, we did a lot of prayer, we did a lot of specific things. And I was lucky because my girlfriend is very knowledgeable about shamanism and Mexican, they call them like Mexican witches. She studied with curanderos. They're called Mexican witch doctors in Mexico. So in the movie, we infused the film with a lot of the things that they would actually do. And then I made a humorous spin on the character in dealing with the, was I funny? See, you got to see the film because I'm really funny and it's a horror film. So try that. Yeah.
I think we have another question.
Hello, huge fan. I wanted to ask, do you always do one take acting?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I don't always, usually I'll do two, which is insane because for safety, if something happens with the take, with the film, with the camera, you know, everything's digital now. But this is the reason. Acting is the manipulation of energy, physical, mental, emotional. So if you're doing a lot of takes, you're killing yourself. If you can be so focused, so ready to go, you should only need one take. You should be able to kill it on that moment. Because you got to remember, when you're shooting, you get one opportunity between action and cut. And you may not get enough. If they don't have the money, if they don't have time, you're not going to get another take. So the better prepared you are. Like if you're a musician and you're playing live, right? You're going to go up there and you're like, we're going to kill it. Let's go kill the song. And you give all in that moment, right? Same thing with acting. So if you can... And the only reason you would even cut a take and do another one, if I don't like the way it's going, if something happens, I will say a line wrong to cut it, to do it again. So that's just me being smart. But because you got to understand, there's no way I could have done like a lot of the work that I've done on different parts if I had to rehearse, if I had to put out that energy and then do it again and again and again, because you're just wasting it. Like when an athlete, a baseball player steps up to hit the ball, right? He's ready to go that moment, throw the pitch. I'm going to hit it. I'm going to try to hit it out of the park. Same thing with acting. Going to hit it out of the park. The problem is you don't always have other actors that are on that level or that work like that. A lot of times, I intimidate a lot of actors because I show up, I'm ready to go, and I'm like, good luck, let's do it. So you got to be so ready, be so prepared, be educated, be smart. Don't waste your time. I was going to say don't waste your time watching television. I watched television growing up all the time. And then now I'm on television. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Ted. You've mentioned this instance where you had a little disagreement with the senior director.
Yeah, I just told him to fuck off.
Yeah, basically, to put in more, yeah. And I can kind of resonate with that because I'm not an actor, I'm a producer, musician, and I've always been struggling with weighing in like your own perspective, the authenticity, and pleasing the fans, see what the fans think, see what the audience thinks.
Yeah, but you have your idea what it would sound like and what it should feel like.
Exactly. And since I've always struggled with that, I thought, what would be your input? Like, where do you draw the line between keeping it real, staying yourself, having your own perspective, kind of being your own director on the film, on the show, on a piece of music, whichever you're doing, and pleasing the fans at the same time.
I don't think you can go in thinking I want to please the fans. You have to go in saying I want to please me. What do I want to do with it? And if the fans like it, great. If they don't, try something else. As far as you have to work with other people, you have to collaborate. Making films, making television is a big collaboration. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that people hire me. They don't try to direct me. They say, what can you do with it? So I come in already with high expectations. They're already looking at me like, wait, we can't wait to see what you're going to do. So I already know that. So I don't need a director, but I need other actors. I need the chemistry. The great thing about when we shot those scenes where I played Tuco, Vince walked up and said, oh my God, Aaron, Brian, you guys look so scared. You guys are killing it. And they looked at Vince and they said, no, we are scared.
Yeah, but that's convincing. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're an artist. You have to find your path. You have to find your sound. You know what you want. You know, it's like same thing. Like I read the script, I looked at it, and I had an idea about what I could do with it. But now it's like, okay, let's make it walk and talk. Let's make it real. I want to hear it. I want to see it. And I hate acting. You guys are all surprised, huh? Because a lot of people, when they see acting, when they look at a script, they see their lines, they see their part. I see all the work. I see all the work that I'm gonna have to do in order to realize this. I don't like acting at all. I'm a very quiet person. I like to read. I like to work on motorcycles. I like to work on my house. You know, I'm very chill. But acting to me is, I see all the work. And I see the challenges. So like when I look at a part, I don't see like fame, you know, money. I don't see like, wow, attention. I see, oh my God, I gotta do this, and this to even get close. So, you know, and I know it's gonna be hard. Like when I did the part where I gained all the weight, I go, okay, I gotta get obese in 2 weeks. I ate every day, all the time, and I got tired of eating. I didn't wanna eat, and I kept eating. Just to gain the weight, just so I can physically look like the character. So, and that's why I did it. And I got sick of food. Yeah, and it took me 2 weeks to gain it, a month to lose it. So, but again, like I say, I see all the work. But I love watching the end product. Like I love watching the show. Because I don't know what I'm doing when I do it. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but I don't know what it looks like. And I never watched, like, you know how they show you dailies? A lot of times when you're shooting, they'll show you, hey, look what we shot today. Do you want to see this? And I'm like, no, I'll watch it when it comes out. Because then I want to see it all put together. I want to hear your record. I want to hear the whole thing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So
Definitely do. Thanks so much, Raymond.
Oh, you're welcome.
Is it okay if I ask another question?
Sure.
Do people get scared and intimidated in real life of you?
All the time.
After the Tuco role?
All the time. I have
didn't
people
wanna
coming
be
up even here to take pictures, and they're shaking, or they don't know what to say. I think they're speaking Lithuanian, but it sounds like gibberish. And they're like, "I'm gonna meet you." I'm like, what? So yeah, all the time. And it's just the characters.
Yeah, because when I asked the first question, I was like shaking a little bit because after watching the show 2 times, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because like you never know what to expect, right? You see me one way, but I'm completely different.
Yeah.
So, and like I've never played myself in a part. I have no interest in playing myself. You know, I don't think I can. I think I'm just too shy, like to do that. So I create like these whole full-blown characters that think differently, that walk differently, that express themselves differently, that feel differently, that sound differently. So for me, that's the way I work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hi. Hi, I'm back. I have
Can
another.
I just say I love that you guys are asking questions. It's awesome. Thank you.
No worries. So it's funny how the person just asked about if people feel intimidated by you, because I had a question about energies. You talked a lot about like energies. You're trying to like embody a character when you get a role, and you said how long you have to stay in that character and just all these energies and things like that. So I wanted to ask, does it affect your like mental health or mental state, like mentally, spiritually, having the negative energies? For example, where you said you played in Abductor, the kidnapping, the Breaking Bad role. Up till now, people come in like shaking.
Oh yeah, he was a pedophile.
That's awful, right? So how does that actually affect you? Because I believe in energies, things like that. Does that like kind of harm you? When does the energy leave? Is it after a month, after a year? Like,
Okay, you'll be surprised by this answer. You have to let it affect you. You have to feel for it, you know? You have to
play a good
accept
role.
it. So you have to say, I'm a pedophile. Why? Why do I find this child attractive? Why does it appeal to me? Without me personally going, you're sick. That's wrong, you know? So as an actor, as a human being, you have an education, a certain education, you have a certain interest. As an artist, you love certain things. Like I grew up going to church. I went to Catholic church. I went to Christian church, and I love going to church because I love the ceremonies. I love the ornamentation. I love the message. I love the spirituality. But then when you're playing characters, you have to allow the character to dictate how you think, how you feel, how you move, how you walk, how you talk, what appeals to you without your own personal bias getting in the way. So you have to basically not exist. So you really feel like you don't exist for the time that you're doing it, especially if you stay in character.
So after the role is done, how long does that linger?
Well, it depends. It depends. Like that part took about a month to stop thinking like that. Because when you're doing it as an actor, you want to always be thinking. You want to be in that mindset. You want to have his thought process. So this is so hard. You have to change your thought process, the way that you think, and accept a completely different thought process and believe it. You have to believe it in those moments when you're doing. You have to believe that you're existing, that you're this person, and you exist in this moment at this time, and that this is real. So it's very difficult. That's why I always say acting is an intensely difficult job. The problem is you have a lot of people who call themselves actors who cannot act. Like the majority of actors are not very good actors. There's only a handful that are real actors. It's just like I have a friend who's a master mechanic, fix anything, car, motorcycle, Ferrari, Porsche, Chevy, whatever. He just has to listen. He can tell you what's wrong. People come up and talk to him about cars. He can tell like that if you know what you're talking about. It's the same thing with acting. You come up to me, you want to talk about acting, I will listen to you, but I can tell like that what you know. Just because I've been there, done it, been through it, stage, theater, film, television, I've done everything. But it's not just experience though. You have to delve deep, and you have to use your intellect, you have to use your spirituality, you have to use, all your emotions. You can't hide anything. A good thing that my acting coach told me too, he said, you're a man, very tough, strong. Your best trait as an actor, you're only strong as an actor if you're vulnerable. If you allow yourself to feel things and you allow the audience to feel it. That's very difficult to learn. Okay, is that good?
Yeah, thank you.
I love that there's a little kid right here. That's awesome.
Are you a fan? Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other questions that I want to ask? Oh, you got one. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yes. I love Denzel Washington. I love Robert De Niro. I love Al Pacino, their early work. I love Margot Robbie. The British actor from Ford versus Ferrari, what's his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, awesome,
Disappears into a role.
Yeah, that guy, watch that guy's work. He's amazing. Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot, insane. Abraham Lincoln, Sally Field. I love Sally Field. I love Margot Robbie, So you just got to watch people, watch their work, You got to hold, like I build motorcycles. I look at a lot of motorcycles. I like going to motorcycle shows. I love to ride. And I can look at a bike and I can tell if it's built well. I can tell if the guy had imagination, if the guy has style. You see a lot of the same bikes. It doesn't interest me, but when I see something different, you hear something different, that's what excites me. And I just love actors that really put it out there, that do really great work. But I loved Anthony Quinn growing up. He was a big hero. To me, I loved Edward James Olmos. You guys know Edward James Olmos? Great Latin actor. Yeah, you'd have to see some of his films, but he's amazing. Yeah. So I took inspiration from all of them. Yeah. So, you watch them and you get excited because you get excited by good work. Do you fight? Can you fight? So, I grew up fighting, boxing, and I loved fighting people who could fight because it made me better. Yeah, I love getting hit because you don't know what it feels like until you get hit. So then you know whether or not you can fight. You know, you don't know how good you are with a guitar unless you play the shit out of it, right? You don't know how good you are as an actor unless you test yourself. So, like, what do you do for a living? A student, okay. So, again, you have to test yourself as a student. How important is it what you're learning? It should be everything to you, everything. Like, whatever you want to do in the future, you're building the house now. Like, if you would have told me when I was a kid that I was going to be an actor, that I would be on stage, that I would be on films and television, I never would have believed you. Never. But I built the house. And then I was invited in. You see, and they're like, wow, it's different.
And that's a great way to end our panel. We're out of time. I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. Raymond will be down doing photo ops and signing and all that kind of stuff downstairs. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thank you.